So let me zoom in on this one a little bit. Let me zoom in a little more. I worked on this in the meantime, right around in here. Before it was white, and now it is not. So, what happens today? Well, I think I know that I will work on this area and this area. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I got my handy protector, which is handy. Gotta roll the ink around a little bit. Get the pen's juices flowing. And then I'm gonna just get right in here and do my thing. All right, so I see it as something like that. And you saw it as something like that as well. You just did. Yes. All right. So now what? I'll just do the same on the other side. Yes. Okay. how does that look? Let's take a look here. It's not bad. Yeah, it's better than it was. All right, so this is at a point where I feel comfortable with it. It was just hanging out there, bothering me for a while. When you're drawing and there's a place that is constantly there in your field of vision and you don't like it, work on it at some point before you move on with the areas that you feel comfortable with. I think this is advice I'm giving to myself right now because I don't often do that. But, now this area, just right in here, anyway. I don't know what's going to happen around in there. I don't know. I don't even have an inkling, really, of what's going to happen. An inkling. No inkling. So maybe something will, as I mentioned earlier, maybe something will come through here. But that's a big maybe. All right. So another area that has somewhat bothered me from the time that I drew it is how this curves this way, but it doesn't have any resolution over here. So notice how it is right now. See, there's just like nothing happening over here. And it's strongly implying that there will be something. It'll come around and meet up with something. And I think this area right here is that something where it will meet up with. So how will it do it? Let's see. Notice the curve implies a follow-through in this way, you see, but this is just maybe too large for what I want to do. I don't really see it as going way out there. I don't. So I need to create a new implied curve from here. So this, nope, actually that won't work. It will work, but I won't let it because I like where it is now. So what I'm going to do then is use this curve here. See? That'll work. Or will it? I'm not sure. I still want to do something with this right here. All right. I am going to try this and see what happens. Make sure my ink is flowing correctly, and it is indeed flowing correctly. Now with my hand in the proper position, you want to do a few test. I don't know if this is a test. I'm not drawing here, but what do you call this action that I'm doing right now? It's like aiming or something. Okay. Boy, that was weak. But it's smooth and curvy, which is fine. Now all I gotta do is fill it in. Weak. That was weak. When I first began this, I was just flying. My ink went all over the place. Should have worn a bib. And so I laid down the line as it still is. So it doesn't matter if I go slow or if I go quickly, as far as the line goes, because it's going to be laid down one way or the other. So what does matter is how it looks after it's been drawn. And if you want a really smooth curve, you go quickly. Problem being is that you're not really in control so much. You are within a certain parameter, but yeah. So when I drew this line here and I said it was weak, it didn't go all the way through. But if I had gone further, I run the risk of going past this curve here, and I didn't want to do that. So I held back, and I held back a little too much. It still works out. It's better to do less than more. So really, it's not often where I say I made mistakes in this, with this medium, because if something doesn't go as planned, then I'll just redivert the line to something else. So it ends up not being a mistake, just it ends up being inevitable, really. And then if there are enough consequences for unplanned lines, and I don't like it, then I just abandon it and call it practice. That's the way it goes. Or has gone. They do have erasable ink. I don't use it because it doesn't feel quality to me. And it kind of defeats the purpose of just using ink in general. I mean, use pencil in that case, if you want to erase. Yeah. Okay. So does this do what I had hoped to do? That's the question now. Does it give this side enough weight? Does it give this curve resolution? Not this one particularly, but this one, yes, it does. There's still the hangover here, and there's this bit here, which I'm going to clean up. And also, I'm not quite done with this area that I started to fill in. There's a little indentation. The line right here, it's hard to see it, but maybe you can. It goes like this. Curves in this direction, but I don't want it to do that. I want it to 100% just follow through like that. It doesn't do that now, but I will fix it, hopefully. The way you do that is what I'm doing now, which is just keep going over it until it bends to your will. And I had to go beyond here to make it work here. What I meant is I pulled it this way, and now that little indentation part is gone, but then I have another, not problem, but little hiccup here, which I have to fix, which is down in here, and that'll come naturally as I'm moving forward or downward. And I didn't know this before, but I'm seeing it now, which is this gradation from dark up here, black really, down to a lighter gray. And because it's a bit splotchy down in here, I will work on it. But the consequence may be that it becomes so dark that you don't see a gradient anymore, so the effect is lost. And then it'll be that. Sometimes this is why speed, even within the more fleshed out areas, is good. Speed is often good. once you have the dexterity to be able to handle, and I don't quite have it even after 30 years of drawing. Well, more than that, jeez. I've been drawing since I was a boy. Since I was a little boy. So, been on the planet over 50 years. A lot of years of drawing. Ballpoint pen, specifically, since around, I don't know, I'm just thinking I started taking it serious around 2001 or 2002. I was doing other types of pen work before. Technical pen, rapidograph pens, the type that you have to refill and have different nibs, used in architecture. Classic architecture anyway. Classic. Old. Now they use CAD. I don't feel like talking about it now, but at some point I would like to discuss this particular pen that I'm using and why I'm using the big pen instead of another brand that I prefer, but am no longer using. Long story short, that pen maker doesn't make the ink anymore that I like. They switched to a cheaper ink. And I will not call them out, but name them later in hopes that perhaps they can return to the older ink that's good. And yeah, this Bic is all right. It's not bad, but there is a better brand out there, or was anyway. And I changed because they changed their ink. So stay tuned. That story will come up. Yeah, I just put a tiny little dot there that I didn't intend to do, and now it's there forever and ever and ever. Till this paper is burned or shredded, or thrown in a river, or launched into space. Well, this video will exist until the video has been scrubbed from the net, or otherwise manipulated with a deep fake. Yeah. What other potential? All right. Or this dot could go away simply by giving equivalent amount of attention or opacity to the ink that surrounds it. This is what you do to rid the paper of splotches. But as a result, you lose the effect of the gradient. So it's it really is a call that you'll have to make, which is so often the case when you're drawing. Not always. Things happen by accident. Often. Everything is often. Nothing is always. Everything is nothing. Nothing is everything. And that's often. Does that make sense? Yeah, I agree. It didn't. And I'm completely wrong, although nothing is complete. And everything is nothing. All right. just said there it is, and when I turned it around, the light shone on it in such a way that I didn't see a particular area that I should fix. And it's becoming more and more opaque and less gradiated, which is okay. Well, there we go. Let's zoom out a little bit and see what happened. Yeah, okay, so I've been working this area and this area here. I'm still gonna somehow work this up. Well, I'll just do it right now. I've got a few minutes left. While I'm here, inactive, I will do this. Didn't mean for that to happen. I overshot my welcome. But again, not a mistake. It is a re-divergence. Re-divergence? I suspect that the re is not necessary there. How about a divergence? It's diverted again. Sure, that makes sense. But it wasn't diverted the first time. Unless you call from white to image a diversion. So what's happening is I am working on the drawing until I like it. Until it looks good. At some point, it looks good, and then I move on to the next area. At some point, it looks good to me, and I say, okay, move on. And that's in the moment. Sometimes I'll come back and it won't look good anymore, and I'll be like, oh, okay, it looked good then, and my opinion has changed. Sometimes it looks better. Gotta sleep on it. There is a finer tipped big pen. It says right here, fine. See that? And this one is, where is it? It's medium, upside down there. So I'm using the medium. And it kind of shows. It's a thick line I'm putting down here. Kind of junky, kind of thick. Doesn't look all that great. So I keep working on it. Until I like it. And now I'm going to very lightly put down some ink here. And I'm just letting the pen's weight be the pressure. I'm going over it and over it again and again. It does take time, but if the ink is flowing, then it will eventually build up and it'll be there. And this is how it works with ballpoint pen. People sometimes will look at artists' work and say, how did you do that with a ballpoint pen? How did you do that with a ballpoint pen? This kind, this ink, which is oil-based, not the water-based ink. The oil-based ink, that's the difference. How do you do that with a ballpoint pen? And the answer is that you build it up, layer by layer. Go light, you don't go heavy. And it works. This is the way that it works. As far as I know, okay, I don't know this for a fact, but just on the physics aspect of it, when you push really hard, I'll show you here. So when you push lightly, you get a very light. See that? That's light. Now watch the difference when I push hard. See? There is a definite difference there. And if you push hard and then stroke the lines here like that, you'll get this. And then you go over it again and again and again, and then eventually the integrity of the paper will just give way and it'll break, and that's no good. I just flipped it around like that because the ink does build up on the sides here. But if you were to go light, you see, there's a difference. Now, this is junky, of course, but yeah, if you're concerned about doing a good job, you'll just maybe go a little slower, a little more controlled, keeping the strokes closer together. And then this is cross-hatching. And that's what I'm doing here. Yeah. All right, I think that's okay. Not too bad. All right. Now I want to work on this area just a little bit, and then I'm going to call it a day. This session will be over. Okay, I was able to keep that white line around there, which is good. Yep. And one more thing I want to do before I call this done today, or this session anyway, is right here. I would like to do that. And then build it up and over. Like this. Yes. So I'll turn it around so I can give my hand some advantage in the... Yep. I have to tell myself that was the correct move by saying, yep. I gave myself approval. I said, yeah, man, that's what you meant to do. Whether or not it was true. Did I just lie to myself? Well, you know, if it turns out that it works out, then I didn't, and everything was fine. It was all worth it. I'd do it again. No, I wouldn't. No time travel allowed. It looks a bit like this feeds into that, which is not what I intended. Interesting result, however. All right, let me back up and see, or zoom out and see what's going on. Okay, so I worked on this area here, this, and this. So it was a pretty good session. It's 40 minutes, this one. And I think that's a good time to call it a day, So until next time, then we will... Yeah. What will we do until next time? Don't know. Out.